Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back again. New episode of 4.4 Miles. Again, I am joined by Simon. How's it
Hello.
going, bud?
It's going good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm not doing too badly at all. Eager to get into this episode,
Yes. Good
especially
weekend for you.
the Spurs Chelsea bits. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, it was a good weekend. I've watched the Arsenal Burnley game three times just because I enjoyed the punishment, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm more optimistic than I have been previously. Um, and
For good reason.
I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, we struggled. It was a tough watch. And there's a few things that I would question about the game and the tactical approach to the game.
Yeah.
But overall, I like what I'm seeing. And so, like my assessment of the game, there was a very obvious change in approach, and that was that we weren't going to cross. I mean, what's the point?
You ain't got nothing in there anyway.
Well, I mean, and even if we did, it's they play with four centre backs at the back, pretty much.
Yeah.
They're going to win everything, right? So we very rarely got the ball into wide areas. They stayed really narrow. So what I saw was our wide players coming almost into the half spaces more.
Yeah.
Instead of stretching them, trying to create that 2v1. But then their lines, the space between their lines, their defensive and midfield lines were so tight, it was almost impossible to get the ball into any of those players.
It's a weird tactic to get. It worked. So who are we to say? But you would have thought, Burnley. Yeah, you're right. They're playing. I mean, if this was a football field, they're inside the hash marks, right? The space is out wide. Why
Yeah,
that wasn't exploited. I mean, you funnel them in.
and so the only thing that I can think of that was Burnley will be happy for us to have the wide spaces and say, go on,
Yeah.
stick it in.
Yeah.
Rather if you can get a player in the half space and you can get your fullback in the half space, then they're going 2-against-1 on that fullback.
Yeah.
They did cross only a couple of times. I think they 7 crosses in the game, which is kind of less than just about half of what they've done in previous games. And those crosses tended to come once we were able to get the fullback in behind their fullback, but narrow. So there was one in the game where Odegaard just dropped one over the top for Kieran Tierney going across the fullback, and he cut across the fullback and then whipped the ball into the near post. But that was the only time they really tried to cross. I mean, there were a couple of other crosses, and it was like, all right, you're crossing for crossing's sake. There's
supposed to do it
with the ball, so just stick it in there. But very, very rare. The problem I think we had was not only is he playing narrow, we also played with a 4-3-3. So if you think about the three in midfield and you think about their shape, then kind of as they spread, you end up kind of like with your central midfielder in the or your kind of your point of the triangle in the central zone.
Yeah.
And then you end up with your other two midfielders in the half spaces. And in front of them, you have players in the half spaces.
Yeah. It's crowded.
So, you're looking at kind of vertical passes to try and get the ball into your players' feet. But, when you're playing in that kind of a straight line, all you have to do is have someone in the way, in the passing lane, and you can't find them.
How much do you reckon it was because you were playing Burnley?
Oh, for sure. 100%.
I mean, you can't, I mean, that's not obviously never second guessing, but you can't do that all season.
No.
So,
no,
I mean, the fact that you're not going to get much joy out of whipping the ball in, I mean, Burnley are brilliant in the air. You're not going to get joy out of it. So why? It's just surprising. Yeah, I didn't know the stat of 7 crosses, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, you just have to look back to the Norwich game, and in the Norwich game, it was twice the number of crosses, and we played with that. classic W shape.
Yeah.
Everyone's going on about juego de posición and, that kind of thing, where you've got kind of like your 2-3-5 formation, and the 5 are in like a W shape, making sure that they're occupying, 3 maximum in a horizontal line, 2 maximum in a vertical line and stuff. So if you look at the Norwich game, there was a lot of that.
Okay.
So there was a definite change in the approach to the game. What I noticed by watching it is the times when we were most successful and we were able to get in behind and actually attack, we were in that W shape. But even then, the wide players, we never even looked for them. It was always trying to see if we can play a through ball through the middle, or if we can, have someone from the half space come into the mid space and go 2v1 on a defender or something like that. And so, I think it was an approach specifically for Burnley. I just don't think the formation matched the style of play. And I think the game got way more open when we went to a 4-2-3-1 and pushed Odegaard up. Now Odegaard can operate behind their midfield line. And because he's like a focal point for our team, whenever he played stagger to Aubameyang, so he basically, let's say Partey's got the ball right center. Odegaard would go inside, so he's looking at the angle for the pass. Then the screen player would come across to screen him, and that meant we could go direct into Aubameyang, And there were a couple of times where Partey got the ball, pinged it into Aubameyang, and now he's 1v1 with a centre-back. And so I think at the same time, the formation change was a good formation change. It was very reactive to Burnley. And that's another thing I'm noticing about Arteta. He's waiting to see what you're doing, and then he counters it.
But there's only maybe a handful of clubs in the league that you're going to be able to do that against, right? The sort of the more physical teams, right? I was going to say Newcastle, but just big, where they're the teams that are going to hunker down for the win or for the tie. Right.
And so this is one of the big sort of things that I'm taking from it is, you can see that Arteta is implementing this JDP style of play, positional play. You can see it in the shapes. One thing about the game at Burnley, the crafty those crafty Northerners did was leave the grass a little bit longer and didn't water it. And you could see in the game there were times where they're trying to play a pass through, and it just doesn't move.
Well,
it's almost like dropping it in mud.
Down there?
Say again?
Was it pouring down there?
No, it was dry.
Oh, it was dry there?
It was dry, yeah.
Yeah.
There was one where Pepe's tried to slide Aubameyang through and he's going in on goal, and the ball just died in the grass. It didn't quite get there. And because of the speed Aubameyang's running at, he's trying to put a foot back to try to hook it back in front of him, and you lose the chance. And so I think what we'll see is at the Emirates, we'll see really sort of fast, free-flowing football. In a couple of months, I think they're still getting used to the JDP principles. But when we go away from home, people are obviously going to try to do everything they can to kind of go against it and not let us have it our way. The teams against the games against the big teams, again in about 2 months' time, I think will be very, very interesting. I'm really kind of looking forward to those tactical battles.
Can we take a second to talk about our free kick?
It was delicious.
He really did well.
He really did.
Didn't have much. And you know what? He didn't have much to work with.
No.
I mean, he was maybe 3-4 yards outside the 18?
Yeah.
Maybe 5?
Yeah, and the wall was full of giants.
Yeah.
And
nobody ducked.
No, it was insane.
Got up.
Because it wasn't even like it was like right in the top of the net either. It was a beautifully executed free kick, I have to say.
He done well.
I'm glad for him because he gets a lot of stick from, believe it or not, from our own fans who still wish we'd signed Maddison for twice the price. Maddison's not done much this season, has he?
Nor's Leicester.
But to be fair. it's good for him to actually get in the stats box.
Yeah.
Because he does a lot of pulling the strings. He does a lot of kind of positional rotation and lots of setting the press. And he does so much in the game that isn't recorded statistically. So you'll look at it and go, hold on, he played 90 minutes and he only had 2 key passes and 1 shot on goal.
Yeah.
Let alone the fact that he's playing the pass that leads to the assist or the pass that leads to the key pass. Or
who's the, how old is he?
22.
Oh, bloody hell. That's
nice. And he's just growing into our system. And he's the captain of his country, so he's going to be a massive player for us moving forward. I mean, he already looks the part. He looks class
until he wants Champions League football.
Well, I mean, I think we'll get there.
That's what you said. We need to go back and revisit my predictions.
Yes, we do need to go back and revisit your terrible predictions.
I'm standing by it for now. It's just a blip. It's all right. Yeah. I got, for those of you listening / watching, I did get a text the moment after that game finished that Everton lost from that man there. Yeah. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Oh, mate, I just think that they've, it almost looks like they've had a leg blown off, so it doesn't matter if it's a marathon or a sprint. It's just terrible.
Yeah,
it was bad, I have to say. I think you're not including... Did you not include Arsenal in your top?
Yeah, I didn't have Arsenal.
Either. You put Leicester in there, didn't you?
I think Leicester was 5th. I think I had Leicester 5th.
Oh, it's terrible. No, you put Liverpool 5th because you said they wouldn't make.
Oh, that's right, because they wouldn't make the top 4.
Where are they now?
I think they're on top right now.
yeah, they are.
It's all right. It's all right. Hey,
oh man.
Yeah.
To be fair, I put them as 3rd. So, but yeah, it was a good win. It was what it was one of them that we had to grind out. And we've not done so well with that recently. I mean, the Gabriel at the back, I tweeted out after the game, stick a statue of Jesus on him because he's an absolute Brazilian mountain.
Yeah.
Like, unbelievable. He was insane. So good.
And you know what's funny? I always, I always refer back, and this is probably going on 10, 15 years ago now. There was a brilliant interview with Gary Neville, of all people, and it was about why Man United had always been successful in the 90s and the early 2000s, up until like whenever it was, when we fell apart. But it was, and he was great. He was like, everybody gets up, like you guys, the Arsenal, Man United, back in the 90s, early, in the Keane and Vieira era. It's brilliant. But he's like, teams always get up for that. The difference between teams that win championships and the teams that don't is because it's the Burnley games that you drop points on, because it's just Burnley. Everyone's up for the Liverpool game, right? But nobody's up for Burnley or Stoke or Birmingham or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was. I mean, that's a good win for you guys. I mean, it is. Because that's we can look at where Burnley is right now, but they're capable of knocking some teams off. They can have results against some teams. Burnley
are exactly where they should be.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how a rugby club gets to play in the Premier League, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, that just added, a little bit of zest to the win. The fact that it's sunk them into the relegation places. But while you were talking about Gary Neville and all things Man United, let's talk about Man United. But before we go to the West Ham game, let's revisit that Young Boys game, shall we?
Brilliant interview from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer after the West Ham game. He's I don't know if you saw the clip. It was a small little clip about where he was like, "Oh, I guess I'm not getting sacked then."
Oh yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's just it's crazy. I mean, the Young Boys game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of. I don't think it means much in the grand scheme of things. I think the way the group is, Man United could go on top of the group and win the group to get out of the group. But I have to say, last week I spoke about defensive frailties.
Yeah.
And I think this week they've kind of reared their ugly head. It's I'm just so not convinced by Varane. I'm really not.
It's funny you mentioned that coming off the back shoulder of him last week. So I watched that this week, right? And he did. He got beat. And I think part of it is that he'll find he's gonna in the Premier League. That's gonna happen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Big, physical, strong centre forwards, quick. He's where he wouldn't have seen that aside from 1 or 2 games in La Liga. So yeah, you're right. I think he'll struggle a little bit to start with. Young boys. That should be a cakewalk, right? You heard, oh, it's an artificial turf, and is that a factor? Sure, probably something, right? Not a lot. But yeah, I didn't understand the substitutions. But then you go, Wan-Bissaka gets sent off a little harsh. I get it. It's, when you slow it down, it looked bad, but and then obviously Jesse Lingard at the end. The trouble was, people focused on Lingard and his back pass, horrendous back pass.
Yeah, it really was.
It was coming. It was coming for 10, 15 minutes, that last part.
Well, yeah, it's people that didn't watch the game will probably say, the red card. But by the time the red card had happened, they'd already had a ton of shots on goal.
Yeah,
their game plan was to perfection. And so, and then Man United are still a team that you would expect when they go a player down would still be able to sort of exercise some control of the game.
Yeah.
But the fact that from the point of the sending off, Man United had no shots on goal.
Yeah.
Just shows how well organized young boys were. And their manager, is it David Wagner, their manager?
I don't know.
I think he was the Bradford coach that coached in the Premier League a few years ago.
Okay.
A good friend of Klopp. And so he understands, the Premier League because he's coached there. Didn't do very well there, but he's probably learned from that.
Yeah.
And he set his team up well. I do think that there may have been an element of as young boys, like you were saying about what Gary Neville says.
Yeah.
But I don't see them making that mistake again. I think they'll definitely have the bit between their teeth, and they'll definitely go after it.
The cliche is obviously, it's a wake up call.
Mm-hmm.
You're bottom of the group now, or it's I guess second because the other team lost by more. But it's still like, it's a good time to win. It would have been nice to win again or to lose against like Villarreal again, because they're now we drop points against a team that most the other 3 are going to beat or maybe. Right. So that's double edged. But it's silly to say I'm concerned. We'll get out of the group, but it goes back to that management part, right? I'm fully behind Ollie, is he the best manager in the world? No, obviously not. But he's done something with United that nobody else has ever done, right? And that goes back to Fergie as well. He's breaking those records too, like the away form and just getting again. When you're playing and you're getting your games on the road, ironically, Young Boys was on the road, but in the league even, we're 28 games now without losing.
Like yeah.
That's not down to tactics. Some of it's tactics, some of it's that's down to sort of, part of it is just hunkering down, team spirit type thing. And I know that's cliche, but that's an element that he has, that he brings, and it works.
Yeah. Yeah, he gets a lot of unfair stick. I think you've got to remember this is a guy who knows Man United's core values from when they were most successful.
Yeah,
he might not be, the most charismatic. He may not have the knowledge of like Alex Ferguson, but who does? Honestly, who does? You can't look at him as being similar to the Alex Ferguson era. No. It makes no sense. He was a player under Alex Ferguson, but he's not Alex Ferguson himself.
Yeah.
He's going to have his way of doing things. He's obviously been involved in a different culture, having worked abroad and that kind of thing. And, but the core values, the core principles, he understands. He understands all too well.
And you got big names coming in. And obviously part of that is just the draw of the club, right? It's a big club. You're going to obviously want to play for a big club, but it's a big club that haven't won anything in 8 years now. or haven't won the league in 8 years.
Nothing
So there's
5, I
got,
think.
you know, when you have players, even like, you know, I was reading this week about Pogba thinking about sticking around. I mean, you know, the finances are obviously a big deal. You know, you want to go somewhere stable. I mean, you know, look what happened to Juventus, look what's happened to Barcelona now. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I agree with you. I think he's getting a lot of unfair stick, and it's easy to focus on the one or two, like young boys. Yeah, we could sit here and be like, yeah, that's a disaster. I don't know what the hell you were thinking.
Yeah,
why you bring off Ronaldo,
right.
for example, when when you're looking to have some threat up front. But he's going to use Ronaldo in all the games. He's got to rest him sometime. Why not rest him against young boys and hope that the other 10 can hold on to a 1-1 tie?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And they would have. If it I'm never going to put it all on Lingard, but I mean, it was his pass. If he hadn't made that pass, we're out 1-1.
Right.
And then everyone's like, you know what, 10 men down, it's on the road. Totally different conversation for one pass.
For sure.
So, yeah.
That's football, though. That's football. That's what we love about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So on to West Ham.
Weirdest game.
It was a strange old game. I have to say. I mean, the deflection was a beast of a deflection, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not Varane.
Yeah, off Varane indeed.
Yeah, too slow. Get out of the way.
But I mean, like, even just like, you know, to not to harp on the Varane thing, although I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
There were him and Maguire, to be fair. There were a few really awful back passes. They just looked so nervous.
Yeah.
And then you know, the penalty at the end, I think, was a stonewall penalty. I don't think you can argue it. Although there were some people that will definitely try to argue it. It was way too close. It doesn't matter. What's his arm doing out here? You know.
Well, and that's just, I mean, with his movement, that is a natural movement, right? If you're going that way, but at the same time, you know what drives me insane is having defenders defend like this.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I'm a fan. Yeah, definitely penalty. Yeah, I mean, as soon as they went to VR, as soon as they just showed it the first time without even thinking about VR, you're like, we're screwed on this one.
Yeah, for sure.
But it wasn't. It was a penalty. But what is happening with Mark Noble?
So I
mean, did Gareth Southgate tell him what to do to that penalty takers?
Listen, I get it. A lot's being made about, you know, he hasn't kicked a ball in the game. So what? Honestly, for me, so what? It doesn't mean anything.
Right.
He's technically your best penalty taker that you've got in the club. We know that if Antonio had been playing, he would have taken the penalty because he's a good penalty taker as well. But he's not there.
Yeah.
So you've got your next best penalty taker on the bench. It's the last kick of the game, pretty much.
Yeah.
Bring that technical person in. He doesn't have to run, 5 miles to strike a penalty.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have to burst into full sprint to take the penalty. All he's got to do is step there, put the ball away.
And like you said, statistically, he's one of the best, not just in his team, in the whole league.
Right.
He's brilliant.
Very rarely misses, if even, well, he's definitely missed now. And so I don't have a problem with the decision. I really don't. And, people are thinking back to England and, bringing players off the bench who miss penalties and stuff. Yeah, but Germany have done it and they've won quarterfinals, semi-finals. It's not something that's new, and I don't see why there's all this hype about it. The only question you have is, warm-ups generally are more about getting your body up to game speed. Right. But there's no game speed. It's the last kick of the game. Yeah. So that's not really essential. The other thing about warm-ups is the mental component, getting your mind ready for the game. And I think maybe he could well have missed out on some of that stuff. But it's Mark Noble.
Yeah,
he's a teenager. He's quite the professional.
Yeah.
He's been playing for a long time. So,
to me,
it's just one of those things.
Yeah. To be fair, if you look at it, the way he stepped up, I think most people knew where he was going.
Yeah.
But it was a save too. It wasn't he was going down, he put his hand back up.
It's a very strong hand as well, wasn't it?
Good save.
Yeah.
And if anyone needed some penalty luck, it was De Gea.
And I was just about to say, at some point something was going to give.
Yeah.
Because I think he'd gone 30 something without a save.
the only person who would have taken a worse penalty would have been De Gea.
Much, yeah. I mean, I think the penalty was well struck.
Yeah.
It was just at a height that was favorable.
Yeah.
But listen, it happens. It happens sometimes.
Speaking of penalties, there were a few that weren't given.
Yes. And what do you make of that? Like, obviously they're picking on Ronaldo a little bit because he does like to
he falls
go down a little bit easy. Yeah.
Brings a little La Liga up to
sure.
Sorry, La Liga fans. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, it was a penalty. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dispute it. I just think this is a case of reputation.
Yeah,
and it's unfortunate because, I mean, I remember when he first came, and like I wanted to kick him through the TV.
Yeah,
like, I did too. Look, if you're going to go down, I'm going to give you something to go down for.
Right.
And Alex Ferguson did a really good job of coaching that out of him. And he went on to become an absolute powerhouse. When he ran with the ball, he didn't go down unless he had to, and he was able to maintain a power with the ball, which made him really difficult to play against.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the cultural shift, having moved to La Liga, maybe kind of allowed it back into his game a little bit.
Plus, I mean, he's a physical specimen, but he's also 36. So he's got to look after himself. So yeah, he's probably not going to ride challenges as much as he would 10 years ago. But I mean, that was absolutely a penalty. You know what I'm actually surprised at is that they didn't review it. And I know you're not a big fan of VAR, but I mean, that was a reviewable call.
Yeah. This is the reason I'm not a fan of VAR. I think the technology itself is priceless, and we had that in the Arsenal game where the keepers come out, got a touch on the ball. It's an obvious touch.
Yeah.
People were trying to argue, but while he's touched the ball, he's then followed through onto the player, which has taken him down. It's just like, every tackle. That's a tackle. World,
right.
And it's not, he's tackled the ball.
Yeah.
So, them being able to go and watch on the TV, it helped to clean it up.
Yeah.
Now you've got the technology. The things I don't like about the technology is sometimes they don't show you different angles. Did you see the Mopay one? Morpay, whatever, the Brighton striker?
Oh, I was going to say, I think that was the game I watched. Oh, was that the
where he literally hooked his arm and pulled the keeper to the ground?
Oh, yeah.
And they've gone and they've looked at VAR, but they haven't looked at. I mean, how have you not seen that?
Right.
I mean, it's insane,
Yeah.
And there was another one in the Brighton game where they've disallowed a goal because players in the goalkeeper's eye line when he wasn't.
Two goals.
And all you've got to do is just a different angle. It's not like they haven't got it, because after the game we get to see that different angle.
Well, there's 300 cameras in the ground.
It's insane.
There's one above them. Yeah.
And so why they don't get to look at all of the kind of, the relevant camera angles is beyond me. And this is the thing. It's a person is deciding, have a look at this camera angle, where you don't actually really get a true picture of what's happening.
And I think that's part of the frustration with VAR, which is well-founded, is we're all sitting at home and the TV stations are playing the different angles, and we can see, in our own opinion, what is and what isn't. And to have the referees somehow, maybe it's different. I don't know how the inner workings go, but they're not seeing all the same stuff we are.
Right. It's insane to me. And
want to be a ref.
Got the wording just kills me. Is it a clear and obvious mistake? So somebody's looking at the Ronaldo one, and the ref's basically saying, no, it's not a foul. I think he made too much of it.
Right.
How do you go against that and say, no, that's clearly and obviously not wrong?
Right.
Or not
because
right.
It's not.
Or
maybe because in interpretation, he thought that way.
Exactly. And so I just think that the whole clear and obvious is just smokescreen wording that the referee team can hide behind when they get something wrong, you know.
So is a topic for another time. Maybe we should have a conversation about VAR, because I mean, we could go for hours on this. But is it better with, better without? You know,
Yeah.
I like VAR. I would much prefer to get stuff right, and it's, you know, going in, going out. You know, I know everybody was freaked out about goal line technology. Nobody cares now.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think goal line technology, the difference is not, there isn't that kind of subjective element to it. It's either or not. I mean, even the offside technology, I'm in favor of, but
the little line.
Yeah, but you have to remember, the lines are being drawn by a human hand.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's it's definitely something. I mean, we've spoken about it before on this podcast, and it killed us last season.
But with Wayne,
I mean, it killed us last season. We lost a lot of points because of VAR last season. I think in the table of who was most affected, we were 20th. Like, we were the worst affected by all of the clubs in the league last season.
Yeah.
And just think of just Leicester last season, where there's Lacazette's had a header. Xhaka is not even in front of the keeper. He is behind the keeper. And it's been ruled out because he's in his eye line or something. And it's just like, you know, and you look at that, that's a 6-point swing. You take 3 points off Leicester and you give us the 3 points. We finish higher in the league, you know? And so it's frustrating. You know, we could be playing Europe this season based on just that one decision.
Yeah. Speaking of Leicester and their game against that, I watched the whole game this weekend. I was riding, so I was watching. I watched the whole game. That was absolutely brilliant game. 2-1. You know, VAR. It had a bit of everything. That second half, you want an ad of what the Premier League is all about.
Yeah,
it was brilliant,
end to end, huh?
Oh, mental.
Yeah.
But I digress.
But then they're not doing too well, are they? You know, I really want to try to get to the the Spurs absolute.
Thought you might touch on that. Let's bring in Wayne.
Absolutely.
Wayne not available today?
No, Wayne is hiding behind construction at the moment, I believe. No, he's unable to be on. But I mean, just. They look terrible.
Yeah,
they really do. I mean, I had some people on social media that were trying to make excuses. Oh, you know, we had players in Croatia last week, and Ndombele's only played you know, so many minutes in such an amount of time. It's like, I'm sorry.
Eric Dyer looked terrible as well, and he's normally pretty solid.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
Yeah,
you can say the Croatia player, you know, the players were in Croatia. No, they were on the field for the game.
Yeah,
and they are two of your better players. You know, and Ndombele played, and all right, maybe he hasn't had the minutes, but he trains every day.
Yeah,
and he's also your best midfielder.
Yeah,
you can't convince me Oliver Skip is better than Ndombele. You're not going to convince me that any of those central midfielders is better than Ndombele. So, you know.
And it's 3-0. If it wasn't for Hugo Lloris, it could have been double.
I mean, he
was their best player.
And you know what? Chelsea didn't even play that well, to be honest. They really didn't, you know. And you know, not to get on harp on the media too much. I don't want to do this. I'm going to do it now, though. When we lost to Chelsea, we had 6 players missing.
Right.
Aubameyang had just come back from illness and so didn't start the game. We had White out for that game. We had Bellerin out for that game. We had Gabriel out for that game. Partey was out for that game. We had key players down the spine of our team missing. And we lost 2-0. And we got murdered for it in the press. You know, just how abject, how there's problems. Arteta's got to be sacked. Paul Merson's out there talking about he can do better and talking about, you know, the transfer policy, and we've spent all this money on these players and this, that, and the other. And I mean, ridiculous. Spurs, with a first team, get beat worse than we got beat. Nobody's saying anything about it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's Spurs. You know, you only talk about what's relevant, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. If you had I mean, if you are, if you're Harry Kane right now, or even if you're Son, I mean, I mean, and it's not just a loss, right? It's a loss against Chelsea.
Yeah,
It's. I mean,
it's the second loss in a row.
What's the table look like now? They're you guys play them next, right? And you can tie.
Yep. Yep. So at the end of August, when they were 9 points out of 9 points, and we were 0, and they were top, and we were bottom, and they were mouthing off about how great they are, and and now look, 3 games later, potentially
Brilliant.
3 games later.
Yeah. If you can't get the ball to Harry Kane, you ain't going to score. Hey, how much do you reckon is Nuno's fault?
I think a lot of it.
Yeah.
I think he is allowing Harry Kane. Harry Kane made the most ridiculous comment in an interview I saw him do, where he said, I watched the Michael Jordan documentary, and I liked how Michael Jordan wanted to get involved in everything and be more involved in stuff, to help the team in championships. And so that's what I want to do. Listen, you need to stay away from your centre backs. You should not be picking a ball up from in between your centre backs.
Yeah.
It just shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be, all right, drop into a 10 spot. Maybe make a run into a wide area.
Yeah.
But there is no reason for you to be deeper than your central midfield players.
Yeah, when you're in behind Holberg.
I mean, it's farcical.
Not good.
And why Santos is letting that happen, I'm just, to me, it just seems like they're trying to keep him happy and let him do his thing to see if maybe he will potentially stay.
Yeah.
But you've taken away the most important part of his game. Again, how many touches did he have in the box?
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. I mean, you have big characters in the dressing room, again, another cliche, but I mean, and he may be one of them, but he's not got a supporting staff around him.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it looks bad.
It's shocking.
I mean, second half for Chelsea was a lot better, bringing on Kante and who was the other one? Werner. They brought on Timo Werner. It looked all right. I'm still not sold on him, but I mean, they were bad.
Mm-hmm.
And your man Rudiger.
Oh, so he's top boy, isn't he?
Top boy. You know what? Funny
finish.
I hadn't paid much attention. I mean, I knew he was, knew where he played and stuff. I hadn't paid much attention to him until you said that last week. He was good.
Oh,
he looked good.
I'm telling you.
And I'll tell you what, he doesn't mind going on a run, does he?
No. I mean, I'm a huge admirer of him. Honestly, Frank Lampard got sacked because he dropped him.
You reckon?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. 100%. If Rudiger's in your team, some of them goals that you're giving up just not happening.
Yeah, he was a beast.
He is an absolute monster. One of the best in the Premier League, unquestionably, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the Tuchel system is made for him because the things he likes to do, he can do. He can pick the ball up as that right-sided centre back, and he can drive into midfield with it, which he likes to do. He's decent on the ball, decent with the ball.
And he's massive.
And then defensively, he's a
monster.
And he just loves it in the air. So he's attacking everything in the air, winning everything in the air. And then he's got an eye for goal. So, he can score with his head, he can score with his feet. Just your complete centre back on both sides of the ball.
He is. It was interesting. I referenced Kante coming in, and again, Chelsea changed a lot. I mean, they were dominating first half, just couldn't get the final product. I still like him, the way he plays. He's just, you talk about, and as weird as this sounds, for those folks who know Diego Chara here in Portland, it's not a similar player in terms of
stature.
Yeah, but just in terms of the job that he does, it's just a dirty, not dirty, like not against the rules, but he does the dirty work.
Yeah.
Nothing there. Gets the ball, wins it back, give it to somebody else.
An absolute scrapper of a player who is going to be all over you. Like we say back in the UK, your typical rash of a player who's just going to be all over you and making you uncomfortable. Just, you know, I like I said, I can't see. I don't think they'll win the league. I do think the better teams will open them up a little bit. Especially because the likes of Alonso likes to get forward a lot.
Yeah.
I think Alonso against the bigger teams, it'd be interesting to see if Kante plays. Because Alonso, how often is Alonso in the box?
Yeah.
Now, when you win the ball, if you can get that ball into the space that he's vacated and pull a centre-back out.
Yeah.
And usually you're looking at that centre-back being Christensen, who you can get at, especially down their left-hand side. You could do some damage.
Also, I forgot. I mean, he's getting old. He can't do it forever. I forgot how good Silva is.
Oh, I mean, he was. To be fair, he was playing against really abject Spurs.
Yeah,
but I mean, he just looked so comfortable, didn't he?
This is a weird question for you. How important is it as a fan? Obviously, you love to see Tottenham, you know, suffer as much as you can possibly. You love it. You know, it's the Steven Gerrard slip for me. Best moment of the 90s, right?
Absolutely.
Or of the 2000s. How important is it that Tottenham are? I mean, would you like to see them like go down, for example?
Yeah, I mean,
or do you like keeping them there and just beating them? You know,
the problem. I would absolutely say I would love to see that club crash and burn.
Yeah,
but the rivalry is a fun side of being a fan, and so them getting relegated means we don't get to play each other as often. Right. And you know, this is what you kind of live for. Growing up in London, you know, I've lived in the Arsenal kind of territories, but then I also lived in the Tottenham territory. So I've got friends of both sides. Let's say friends who are Arsenal fans and acquaintances who are on the Tottenham side. You know, I still have banter with them even from here.
Yeah.
So if we weren't playing each other, you kind of lose that kind of camaraderie and that kind of, you know, ability to kind of have a bit of banter with those people.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, if they were to get relegated, it'd be non-stop banter from my side. Just pour it on. Just pour it on.
That's the best part.
Memes.
Oh.
Yeah. But I do think you know, one of the funniest things about this whole thing for me is we unquestionably have been in our worst position for the last probably 5 years.
Yeah.
In the last 30 years, our last 5 years have probably been our worst. You know.
I would say. Yeah.
We've definitely, the last couple of years of Wenger wasn't great. That's, you know, the slide started a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah.
But then, you know, having dropped right out of kind of Europe as, you know, the pinnacle of our kind of demise has been rough. But on the flip side, this has been Spurs' best.
And
last season, I think they had their best ever start to a Premier League season.
Yeah.
This season, they've had their best start to a Premier League season and have won nothing.
Yeah.
In these 5 years that they've been above us. Although we've still won stuff, you know. So it's like, right, you've had your five years. You didn't do anything with it, so we'll take it back now. Get back in your box, right? Back under the stairs, please.
Because I was asking, because it's like, you know, I had this conversation with a mate, one of the other coaches at the club, and he's a big City fan, right? And so for me, it's weird because like you see Chelsea doing well, and I don't know if it's the same. So I guess that's what I'm asking. For me, there's a part of me, obviously, I don't want City to win anything, right? But if it was City or Liverpool, I would quite happily let City win all the time. Like seeing Liverpool win the league, especially, you know, because for 30 years we've held that over them, you know, forever, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, is it the same with you with Chelsea? Do you care if Chelsea? I mean, obviously you care, but
to me, so I understand what you're saying. you've got kind of like your geographical rivals, and then you've got your kind of championship rivals.
Right.
And Liverpool for so long dominated English football.
Yeah.
And then as their period of success ended, Man United rose to the fore.
Right.
And so those are, and listen, this is not even up for debate. Those are the two most successful teams in the country.
Yeah.
So in terms of the championship rivalry, it makes sense. But then there's also, it's geographical. It's not that far apart.
Right.
And so I understand why they would be, your main rival as such, and why you want to pip them, you want to overtake them in terms of trophy haul, because that makes you the best. It makes you the biggest.
Right.
I wonder if you see things with Man City as I see things with Chelsea. And to me, in the discussion, Chelsea are irrelevant. In my mind, Chelsea are 20 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we've been doing this for over 100 years.
Yeah.
You've had recent success. Fair enough. Does that make you the best team in London? Yes, it does. You are the best team in London because recently you've won pretty much everything. Does it make you a bigger club? Not even remotely.
It's you bought it, you didn't earn it.
Right. That's one part of it. The other part of it is when you're looking at a football club, you're looking at story, tradition, and history.
Yeah.
And Chelsea don't have it.
Right.
They just don't have it.
Yeah.
It's all well and good saying, we've been one of the top most successful teams in the last 20 years. Absolutely. I'm not going to question that. But football's older than 20 years.
Yeah.
Football's been going for a lot longer. We've been able to have consistent success without the money.
Right.
And that's based on club values. That's based on, fandom. We're a bigger club around the world, more well known around the world. They're catching up because younger generations now, they're looking for successful teams to follow.
Like you see people like Pulisic, Chelsea are a big club over here in the US.
Exactly.
Chelsea is massive.
Exactly. And so, these things, I understand.
Yeah.
Are they at our level yet? I don't think so.
Right.
So to me, Chelsea's irrelevant.
Yeah.
You're
not happy to see him win, but
no. But
But if it was Spurs,
what I can't accept, I can't. I just can't. It can't happen.
Well, luckily for you, it won't happen this year either. I mean, and bringing it back round. I mean, there is a part of me, and obviously I don't have the same sort of view of Spurs that you do, but I just, why can't they get this right? I mean, you think, hindsight's always 2020. Why if they didn't get rid of Pochettino, a few years back?
Yeah, panic.
Yeah.
Amazon. That's one reason. You can't go through an Amazon directory. I'm sorry, you can't go through an Amazon documentary thinking, oh my God, this could be a really bad year for us.
Yeah.
So bang, pulled the trigger way too early. Way too early.
Yeah.
I mean, it was what, 10 games into a season?
I don't even know if it was that.
And they weren't even doing that badly, to be honest. They'd had a bit of a hangover because of the Champions League final that they went to and stuff. Listen,
but that's just it. It's the Champions League final. So okay, you didn't win it. I get it, but you were there.
I'm just so happy by it. It just it's frightening. And now you look at them. I've said this since the beginning. Espirito Santo is Jose Mourinho 2.0. They're going to be looking to be fair, they started the game pretty well at the weekend.
Yeah. But that was as much Chelsea not playing well.
Exactly. Yeah. Chelsea were really poor and kind of let Spurs have a little bit more of the ball. But they just look terrible. They really do. I mean, we went through those stats last week. They're like near the bottom for shots, near the top for goals, for shots conceded. And just. I think they've had 2-3-0 losses in a row.
Yeah, I'm looking at stats now, and it's like they had 20. Chelsea had 20 shots. Tottenham had 8. Two of them were on goal. They had 47, 53. in terms of possession, but yeah, real bad.
Yeah. And so I just don't understand. I just don't understand why they appointed him. At the same time, they've been turned down a lot over the summer. A lot of the top names were just like, no chance. There's no way I'm doing that. So, I mean, hopefully this just kind of lets those Spurs fans know you're not at the level. You're just not.
And I feel like the Kane situation is like, staying married for the kids. He's gonna go. I mean, at this point, what does it keep for him to stay?
Well, so here's the thing, right? What's going to happen with the Kane situation is going to be very similar to what happened with Aubameyang and his new contract.
Okay.
Because there are idiots out there that think, oh, Aubameyang signed this new contract and now he's not interested.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, if you're not performing, you'll get sold. And if you're going to go to a new place, you can't demand the same salary if you didn't perform. Right. So, where does it make sense for you to sit back and just accept the money and not do anything? You know, and just, he's had his troubles. We all know that.
Yeah.
We know there's a new system being implemented that, we need to get to grips with. But any idea that he can't score, you just have to go back to that West Brom game. And it's West Brom. It's West Brom under 23s and whatnot.
Right.
So what? He stuck one in the top corner from just inside the box.
Yeah.
You've got to execute it.
Yeah.
So he can execute. What I feel is going to happen with Harry Kane is, I mean, he's 4 games, no assists, no goals so far this season.
Yeah.
And so if he goes another 2 games, look, Arsenal, if he doesn't score at Arsenal, when does Kane never score against Arsenal? People will start saying something's wrong. Yeah. There's something wrong. And the fans will turn on him eventually. And
so obviously, we got a World Cup coming up.
Yep.
I mean, he's obviously going to be the main man for England, but it's 18 months away.
Yeah.
Or whatever, 15 months away.
Yeah.
He's got to start banking because there's plenty of kids knocking on the door now.
Yeah. I'd be more than happy to go to this World Cup with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think give Ivan Toney, I'm not sure if he's English or if he's got a different nationality, but give him a chance. He looks like he could be quite exciting.
Sancho on one side, player of the year, Sterling on the other.
There you go. Even bring in Saka, you could bring in Grealish. There's enough attacking talent there. And to be honest with you, Kane's not a focal point at the moment. He keeps dropping deep, doesn't he? So get someone who's going to stay up top. Someone who can finish. You might have to give them more chances because Kane's quite clinical, to be fair. But I'd be more than happy for Kane to go the season, not score 10 goals, and Spurs get relegated.
It's so good. It's so good.
Oh man,
you'd miss them.
I mean, I'd miss the games against them.
Yeah.
Especially when they're poor, because you go into a game and I mean, it's a derby, right? So there's always that chance.
How nervous are you for next week?
I'm not nervous. I don't like to talk about it ahead of the game. I'm one of those people that I don't bet on my own team.
Keep your head down
because I'm not going to tempt fate.
Right.
I'm not gonna absolutely rip someone ahead of a game.
Yeah.
Because the way the world works, they'll be given a chance to come back at me.
Kane will score a hat-trick next week, and you're
right. Right, exactly. And I'm. I mean, even fantasy. With my fantasy, I've got no Arsenal players in my fantasy.
Really?
Yeah, because just tempts fate. Like the way my fantasy tends to work is whoever I pick goes off form. Right. So I had Ivan Toney in my team for the first 4 weeks. Didn't score. Yeah. Took him out this week. Put Lukaku in my team.
Yeah.
Lukaku didn't score. Ivan Toney did. Yeah. Like that's generally how things work for me.
Right.
But I try to go with the better players from other teams.
Which Man United players you got?
I think I've got
Ronaldo. You go have Ronaldo.
I haven't got Ronaldo. I haven't even got Fernandes, to be honest. I think I've got.
But no, you ain't got Varane.
Definitely not. Maybe Maguire.
All right.
Maybe Shaw.
Oh, that's a solid choice.
I
You'd be
can't even- I
mental
can't
not to
even
have
remember.
Ronaldo.
I mean,
That's just your pride, Angelo. Come on.
The reason I didn't is because we spoke about this last week, and I don't think he's going to play that many games.
All right.
I think as we go into the season, I mean, listen, we've said it many times. He's a specimen, but he's 36.
Yeah.
You know, you can do things to keep your fitness in terms of your aerobic fitness and stuff, you know, but bones are bones.
Yeah.
Your nutrition's good, but perfect nutrition doesn't mean you get to live for as long as you want.
Also,
there's still going to be some sort of, you know, wear and tear. And so I do think, and you can see already they're starting to manage him, taking him off against young boys and that kind of stuff. So
when you're not playing at Madrid and you're not playing at Juventus, your days off and your rest days look a little different than they do in Manchester.
For sure. Rain.
You know? You're getting out there, you're having a lay down, you do some pool work.
Right.
Brilliant.
Right. You know,
Manchester, you're just inside in your crappy little house.
Exactly.
Hoping you don't get robbed.
So yeah, I didn't pick him because I didn't think, you know, I think the games that you're going to want him for are the Norwich games, the Newcastle and, you know, those games. But will he play in those games? You know, I don't think he'll play in those games. So yeah.
Hey, real quick, not to hijack the podcast, was Man City, is that a blip? Southampton 0-0.
I mean, they scored at the end, didn't they? But it was ruled offside by a toe, to be fair.
Cool.
I don't think so. I think Southampton can be organised.
Yeah. They do look good.
I do think Man City maybe suffered a little bit of a European hangover. And I think a lot of teams will. You know, did you see during the Man United West Ham? There was a point where Rice went on a run right down towards the kind of corner flag.
Yeah.
And then couldn't run to get back in place.
He was that tired.
And so he literally walked.
Yeah.
And it took him about 30 seconds to get back. And then his defenders had the ball and he's asking for the ball from them, but it's not checking for it.
Right.
He's just standing there saying, go on, give it to me. And when they played it to him, he got into a little jog towards the ball.
Yeah.
But he looked sort of shattered. I'm not sure whether it was the Euro exertions, because he played pretty much every game in the Euros, and only having a month off. I'm not sure if it was that. I don't know if he even started. I didn't even know if he started in Europa League, to be honest. But he looked shattered.
And he's got some legs on him too. That boy can run.
Right. You know, and I noticed a couple of Man United players looking a little bit heavy as well. Obviously, playing against 11 when you're playing with 10 is going to take its toll. So I do think that there's going to be a little bit of a hangover, and so it's going to
be interesting conversation between Guardiola and the Spurs fans, the City fans, about empty had. Wasn't expecting that.
I don't think what he said was wrong, to be honest.
But the reaction, stick to coaching.
But this, right, you know, and he's got this way of talking where he's very to the point. He's very, first of all, he's very animated, isn't he? When he's talking his hands and his hand, he looks like he's going to fight you, and you know,
right.
And so to match his body language, he speaks in a way that's very blunt.
Yeah, it was weird to hear him say, "Oh, I'm happy to leave."
Right.
It's like, what?
Yeah, but he's already said a couple months ago that he's probably in the next 2 years or so, he's probably going to kind of leave and go on a bit of a hiatus just to kind of recharge and stuff. So you know, he's right. Listen, I've brought all the success to you.
Yeah.
You know, what are we at a point now where because we're successful, we're not turning up anymore? Like, no, we need you at the games. You've been part of the reason we've been successful. We need you cheering us on, pushing us on in the games.
When they said they had 38,000 people in the Etihad?
Yeah. And you know, I do understand that they maybe don't have the tourist effect like Man United, like Arsenal do, like Chelsea do to an extent. where people are in the country and they want to go see a game, and those are the games they want to go see.
Big clubs.
And that's it. This is exactly what I was alluding to earlier.
Not Tottenham, not City.
No chance. I mean, Tottenham have the draw of the new stadium. But you don't have to go to football to watch that. You could go to the NFL to watch it. You could go to a concert, or I think they've got a boxing match, or there's something that's going to be there at some point. So I get it. And then for people to come back at him and tell him stick to coaching, listen, you watch out, because when he decides, you know what, I'm done.
You could have.
You're not going to replace him.
You could have Nuno in charge.
You're not going to replace him. Who are you going to bring in? Yeah. A lot of the top managers have been taken at the moment. You're going to bring Allegri. Juventus are 18th in the league right now.
Yeah.
Like, who are you going to bring in? So I think they do need to just kind of simmer down a little bit and just be thankful for what you've got while you've got it. Because I can attest to it. You can attest to it. Wayne's going to be able to attest to it. It's cyclical. It's cyclical. You get to a point where you've got to go back and start to rebuild, and and it happens in all sports.
Yeah.
In the NFL, the Patriots had a dynasty, and all of a sudden, things have to move on. We've got to cycle, bring in fresh blood, and you move on some old blood, and look what happens. So yeah.
NFL reference. Love it.
I've got one final thing that I'd like to talk to you about.
Go on in. Am I in trouble?
No, we spoke about VAR earlier. It got me to thinking about the decision in the Man City game where Southampton had a penalty awarded and Man City got a red card. Kyle Walker.
Yep.
And then VAR has basically said, you might want to go and watch that. And he's had a look and he's overturned his decision. What do you think?
Right decision. Probably. I say probably. That's exactly that's the point, right? Is it the right decision? Is it not? I mean, he's going down. The weird part for me was that Walker, especially, and then the other City players didn't argue much. There wasn't like this sort of, massive, like how the heck could you give that? And I don't know if that's because they thought VR, no worries, lads, don't worry, VRL cleared this out. Right. Or if it was like, no, that's stone on.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. What do you reckon?
I mean, it's not a penalty for me. Not even remotely. Part of my thinking is first of all, Armstrong's looking like he's going down almost into a slide to be able to kind of pull the ball back towards himself.
Right.
But then you want to talk about who's in control of the ball. And as far as I'm concerned, if Walker can get his body across the front of you, he's in control of the ball.
In control, yeah.
So if anything, you're fouling him by sort of going down and making contact with his foot. He stepped across you, but he stepped across you while he was in front of you.
It's always one of those ones where and obviously this sounds silly to say, but if it was not inside the box, we're just playing on.
Yeah, right? It's like a incidental contact kind of thing.
Regular tackle.
Yeah. I mean, we had one almost exactly the same against Chelsea where Saka went into the box, and as he's gone into the box, he's got slightly ahead of Reece James, who stepped across Saka, and Saka's ahead of him onto the ball, and James pulls him down, and that wasn't given.
Yeah,
and VAR, it wasn't given.
Yeah.
So these are the things that make it really difficult to work out what's going on. Should it be? Should it not be? But I think overall, I think it was the right decision. Yeah. The red card seemed just ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
He stuck a leg across to try to get the ball.
But that's the rule, right?
Well, the rule is if you're not attempting to play the ball, because of this double jeopardy thing.
Yeah, because you get a penalty.
If you attempt to get the ball,
yeah,
and you miss it and you give a foul away, it's a penalty kick and a yellow card. If you're not even, so if a player runs past you and you pull him down in the box, so you're not even attempting to win the ball, then you get the extra punishment of the red card. And I don't know if you remember when we played Wolves last year, the Wolves striker got in, David Luiz was chasing after him, and the heel of the player grazed David Luiz's knee, and he went down, got the penalty, and Luiz got sent off for the most minimal of contacts. But he got sent off because there was no way he could win the ball at that point. So he's not even trying to win the ball. He's just running to try to get back into position.
You lost me at David Luiz.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Reputation, we talked about that earlier, right?
This is one of the VAR decisions that killed us last season.
Sideshow Bob.
But yeah, you know, it's...
no, it's fair.
I don't think it was a penalty. I think it was the right decision in the end.
And again, we're, you know, I know we're getting low on time. If you, I mean, how hard is it to be a referee nowadays? So
yeah,
I mean,
but it's not made any easier because the language is so, you know, it's so grey.
But isn't that the beauty of it?
No.
I mean, do you want to turn this in? I mean, not you personally, but do you, the collective, you want to turn this into an NFL game?
No, and you don't want stoppages all the time, absolutely. Right. But you know, the offside rule as it was fine. Now we want to get more goals, and so if you're on the other side of the field in an offside position, you shouldn't be offside.
Right,
that's fine. Right. Yeah. And so we want to add if you're not interfering with play. But why are we saying? You know, the foot, not even the toe, half of the big toe, is offside. Slightly. I mean, where's the advantage in that? Honestly,
yeah, you're not interfering still, right?
You know, if you want to talk about advantages, then how about the toe of the person that's potentially going to score? The toe of the striker is, you know, is over the line of the offside, but he is. He runs 5 meters in 3 seconds, and the defender can run 5 meters in 1.5 seconds. Yeah. So the defender's got the advantage. Why are we not? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. How far down do you take it? Yeah.
You know, I mean, just daylight. I love the idea of daylight. Remember, we used to talk about that. If there's clear daylight between the players, it's an advantage. You know, if your bodies are kind of intermingled, the chances are the defender's got a hand on you, is holding you, is pulling you, is doing something.
Yeah.
So I really like Wenger's proposed revision, where they basically said the back foot of the striker with the front foot of the defender.
The front, yeah.
If there's any overlap, then let it go. You know, and for me, this is a really easy way to clean up a very grey sort of rule, you know.
Yeah, and it's where you introduce language like interfering. Well, first off, it's somebody's opinion who's interfering and not, and too often, I mean, and I don't know, maybe they are doing this right, but I would love to see players in that booth, right? Yeah. Former players, in that booth. You know, because if you listen to like, you know, Lee Dixon, Graham Lasso, and those guys, they're talking. I mean, they make sense.
Yeah.
Right. They're just like, that's, you know, is it a foul? Is it a penalty? Is it offside? You know, and you hear them moaning about it, and it's entertaining, but it's real.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that bloody word interfering is, you know, a ball going over the top, a striker's running in behind me. I know that I've stepped up on him.
Yeah.
But the flag won't go up until he touches the ball.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm looking at the lino. You're gonna stick your flag up? No, right. I've got to go for the ball.
Yeah.
So how is that striker not interfering with me?
Yeah, I know.
You know, and then I try to get it. I don't get the purchase on it properly because I haven't set myself to attack it early enough.
Yeah.
Now it grazes off the top of my head, or it comes off a toe and goes in, and now he's onside because I attempted to play it.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a weird one too. The attempted play.
It really is farcical.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm attempting to play it. If I don't,
and
you don't put your flag up, he's going to score.
Right.
You know? And so it makes no sense. And I think each year, look, handball. If it hits your hand, it's a handball.
Yeah.
You know, so defenders start to do things where they kind of keep their arms in and that kind of thing. But you can always say, even this whole idea of unnatural body position. I remember a Man United game last season, maybe not last season, maybe it was the season before, Champions League game, where somebody's had a shot and a player jumped and spun and it hit their arm and they're looking at their own goal and hit the arm.
I think I remember this.
When you spin, the forces act outwards.
Yeah, they come out, right.
So when you're jumping and you're spinning, your arm is going to come out, you know? So why is that not a natural body position? Because the laws of physics say it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be natural, right?
Right.
Nobody jumps like this.
Just say if it hits your hand, it's a handball.
Yeah.
Clean it up. Now you will have people that will play for things and will try to kick the ball at your hand. Yeah. But then how is that different? At the moment, defenders defend with their hands behind their back. I don't agree with it. But if you said if it hits your hand, it's a handball, how would that change what defenders are doing? Yeah, it wouldn't. So why not just clean it up? Just clean it up, make it black or white. I get it. We want talking points because there's a whole media attached to the sport and the talking points and and everything. But you're just making it like back to the original point. It is impossible for referees to deal with it. And what doesn't help is they don't come out to explain anything. And they make their decisions with impunity. They might get relegated or they're taken off a game for the weekend or whatever. But great for you. Somebody got relegated from that. Yeah. Somebody missed out on Europe for that. So, come out and explain yourself. I'd much rather you didn't get demoted. You didn't get, taken off a game. I'd rather you came out and squirmed in front of the media and explained yourself. Yeah. And that's the one thing I really like about, you watch a rugby game and the refs are mic'd up. Obviously, Premier League's mic'd up too, but you can hear them. Yeah. Right. So, and I'm sure it clears up a lot of, stuff. It would be great. And I don't even care if a ref come out and said, yeah, you know what, probably got that wrong. Yeah. Some people obviously will, but it makes it part of that human experience, right? It's part of the game. It's like Jesse Lingard. I shouldn't have done the back pass. Oh, poor Jesse, versus like doesn't say anything. Oh, he's a twat. Right. Exactly. I just think, just even to understand perspectives on simple things, somebody puts a hand in someone's face, and last week we saw that, and somebody got sent off. Yeah. This week it happened, and it wasn't a sending off; it was just a yellow card. Why? Explain. In isolation, I didn't think there was that much malice in it. It was, in my opinion, he was just kind of trying to put a hand up to say stop, and he accidentally made contact with his face. He apologized straight after. Let us know what happened, and we might be able to have a better insight, and then it helps to clean up your decision. And the context, maybe the referee had been, you guys don't see it on camera, but he and I, ref and defender, whoever, have been chirping at it for 5-10 minutes. Right. Like, keep your hands down. I've told him 3 times before. Keep your hands down. Exactly. It's like, okay, well, fair enough. Right. I mean, bottom line in all of this is next week you could be above Tottenham. Yes. We need a 2-goal win, and is that it? 2-goal win. If there's any team that can be beat by 2 goals. I know you're not going to say Espirito Santo's Tottenham. I mean, it definitely is. Whether we can do it is a different question. I thought that the moral of the show was going to be that they are pants. Terrible. I'm looking forward to it. I think with that we'll be done for this week. Thank you very much for joining us. Where can we find you? Pretty much all social media platforms. Brit in the US, BritInTheUS, on all of them, pretty much. Yeah. And I am sensible_gunner on Instagram and on Twitter. I only just started following you. Do you see that? Last week. Yeah. I had no idea. And you on your other one, whatever that 4.4. Yeah. We've got them all out there. And by the way, there are a million sensible gunners in some sort of underscore, overscore, hyphen. There's only one that counts, though, isn't it? Yeah. And Wayne is elevate_soccer. So give him give him some attention and give him a bit of a ribbon, especially if things go a certain way at the weekend. But we'll be back with a North London derby review later on in the week. And until then, enjoy your week.
Laters.
See you later.